This place is crazy. Let's find something to drink.
The Garden of Morr is a gem of the Warhammer Fantasy universe. Even in the most recent Age of Sigmar, it has been revived and doubled. Look at the beauty and the amount of detail in this kit. Stunning! The fact that it is a very nice diorama, however, is at odds with the possibilities of playability. Games Workshop intended to use it as a decomposable element to the battlefield. But I want to find a way to make this place playable also in a diorama conformation. First of all, I created some templates with the graphics medium chipboard. In this way, I was able to enlarge the scenario between the mausoleums. Increasing the perimeter will be quite easy, thanks to the creation of walls in style with the existing ones. The creation phase was definitely a refreshing project. I have found myself mostly immersed in large projects lately, and creating the tile sites elements not only provide me with something new, but allowed me to find some relax in a decidedly stressful period. I'm using slices of XPS installation foam cut to the same height as the Morr bases. This will provide me with an excellent starting point. Once the XPS foam was cut out with the help of the templates, the fun phase began. I used some of my resources stored among the resin debris and tried to obtain tiles that had the same style as the original ones. In them we find bricks, soil, flowers, fragments of tombstones, skulls, definitely a lot of details. I used all my resources to give depth to the pieces, gluing some fragments and drawing others. I used a rather rough flocking. I will need this in the mold phase. That's right, I'm going to make these elements replicable, so that I have a Morr's Garden upgrade kit that is always ready to be cloned. This is what I got: 6 very detailed bases, ready to be slipped into the mold and covered with liquid silicone. For the walls, I worked hard. In addition to a skull work worthy of the Game Workshop worker, I recreated the pillars and the top of the walls, without sparing me on the details. Here you can see how I created an artisan mold. As a base I used a little transparent plastic bag, of the kind used in archival binders, you know. I then simply enclosed my pieces with pieces of XPS foam cut to size and held together with the hot glue. For safety, to avoid spills outside the box, I sealed everything with paper tape. I then used liquid silicone for medium density molds. I used the catalyst and mix it well. We are ready. Unfortunately, even using the superpower of the Nutella heater, that is the ability to scrape medium-large jars all the way through in search of some more chocolate, I ran out of silicone. Hello fellow crafters, so this is what happens, okay? Have you ever had the feeling that you are doing something stupid and nonetheless you continue to do something more stupid and then you finish doing something very stupid? Okay, maybe this time I screwed up. Okay, I screwed it up totally. I explain you what happens. Basically, I wanted to, to mold, to make the mold in silicone for my floor, for the grave. Okay, so I can reuse this plastic and resin pieces. Unfortunately, I calculate the amount of silicone that I needed for that, and sadly, when I placed the pieces on the floor, basically they took more spaces than what I have calculated. So, long story short, I just have not enough silicone. So you can think, okay, so you wait for more silicone. No, I just continued with the silicone that I have, hoping that was enough. And when you do something like that and you hope for some miracle, actually the miracle never happened. So I just poured the silicone, and I discovered that actually this little part that was actually more elevated from the other was not, totally synced in the silicone. And you can say, okay, maybe you can, give it up. You can renounce to one piece and save the other ones. And I was like, no, I want to save all of them. And then I come up with this silicone gun with some normal silicone for fix, the surface of my mold. And now, this was crazy, guys, because, this silicone is much more dense than the other one. What is worse is that actually the weight of this silicone was so heavy that it actually sinked in the other one. And basically, I do this mess. Now, what I'm hoping now is that actually a subtle layer of the right side silicone, still was between the piece and the wrong silicone, because at the end the entire mold is actually dried solid. So now let's see what happens. And this mold can be used with some towels in the background, so you can fix it, because now it's totally messed up. Let's put the camera on the mold and let's check what happened actually on these pieces, okay? I see just two solutions. The first one is that I will take out all my pieces and I have perfect molds. And the second one is that I just screwed it up totally. So let's check it out. If the second one is the true one, I will simply redo all my floor pieces, and I just switch on the new pieces for the final part of this video, okay? So the building process, the crafting process will be exactly the same. Let's check it out. First of all, see, this is a totally, homemade mold. And first of all, I want to remove the paper scotch. Not a big deal. It's a big mold, eh? Voila. Ta-da! Now, the problem should be mostly here. You see, this big blob of silicone, but let's free our pieces. Trust the silicone. Only the resin will tell us what is the truth about the results. Although I leveled the mold, pouring the resin was not easy. What a mess! In the end, the first casting allowed us to clean the mold from foam and flocking residues. After about 10 minutes, I extracted the pieces and I succeed! Now I have 6 perfectly clonable pieces and I can proceed to the relaxing phase of the painting. After a base of black primer, I gave a coat of neutral grey. Look at the beautiful details. I'm very happy with these results. In addition to the classic schemes that I had used in Morr's garden, a very important aspect is to blend the old pieces with the new ones, and in this nothing is better than an airbrush. A touch to the details and we're done. Now I can play directly on the Garden of Morr diorama. I hope you enjoyed this video, which as usual was made possible by my patrons. Consider joining the Patreon family and supporting the channel by following the links in the description box below this video. Thanks for watching guys, and as always, happy crafting!